Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and are having a flare-free day. Different filming area today. We are in my car. It is so fall fresh out today that I thought I would just do a little drive. It is raining out, the leaves are changing, the sky is gray, and I have a warm cup of chai tea latte with me. So I thought what better moment to kind of sit down with you all cozy and comfy and talk about the motivation to find a doctor that believes you in your chronic illness journey. I will be the first to raise my hand and say that the motivation to find that doctor that believes you over years of being dismissed by doctors over and over again is really hard to get that motivation every day to be like, no, I'm gonna find answers. I'm gonna find that doctor that gives me the name to my pain. I've lived with endometriosis pain for over like 20 years. And it was only more recently that I dug down deep to find that motivation to say, I'm gonna find that doctor that believes me. And so I can be the first to say that the motivation sometimes is not there, and we don't have the energy because we're dealing with fatigue to like reach out or call or find a new clinic that we can kind of see if a doctor believes us and doesn't gaslight our pain. And so in this video, I want to talk about what helped me find that motivation to find that doctor after seeing 11 plus doctors in my endo journey that just gave me the same excuse of your pain is normal because painful periods, you're just one of the unlucky ones, to, you know, it's all in your head, or this is just a commonality with some individuals. Like, I just felt there were so many excuses, and after a while, that motivation to find answers just was like in the trash. And I just didn't feel seen in the healthcare system. I didn't feel motivated to find answers. I just was like, I think this is what I have and I can live my life with that. But yeah, recently I was like, no, I want that healthcare provider to be found. And I know that they're out there. And I want to say first and foremost, that doctor for you that believes your pain and believes your story and validates you is out there. I 100% raise my hand, promise you that they are out there. And the more we raise awareness specifically for endometriosis or chronic illnesses that have period pains as symptoms, the more we raise awareness, I think the more likely we are to have more doctors and clinicians find that research and find that understanding that endometriosis symptoms can range outside of pelvic pain. The more we raise awareness, I think the more likely we are to find a doctor that understands that there's nuances to the disease. That's the first thing I will say, is that there is a doctor out there that will believe you and will provide that support that you have been aching for. Promise you. In this video, I'm going to talk about some tips that motivated me, and I hope that they help you in your journey. If you have any other tips that helped you find the motivation to find a doctor in your area or your country, feel free to comment them down below, as I'm sure it will help somebody else in their chronic illness journey. So the first thing I will say when finding motivation to find a doctor that believes you, and it might seem counterintuitive, but it's to rest. There is a lot going on with a chronic illness that we don't give ourselves credit for. Waking up with flares or the mental load that we take on worrying if a flare is around the corner can really be heavy on us on a day-to-day basis. The things that we do outside of our chronic illness, like work or family responsibilities, there's a lot going on. And so putting pressure on ourselves to find that one doctor in a certain amount of time that believes us can really be exhausting and can cause burnout. So having that rest period after 1 or 2 appointments that just didn't go well can be the thing that we need to keep going to find that doctor that does believe us. And the hard part is that yes, we will come across doctors that will gaslight us and not believe our pain even after we feel re-energized and recharged, and that can cause a bit of a hit to our motivation. But I truly felt that after every episode of a painful medical appointment or a painful experience with that doctor that was new, taking a rest for myself and saying, okay, there's a new day, I feel good, I'm gonna go and find a new doctor that believes me. It just helped me feel that motivation again over time. Again, living with a chronic illness and finding that motivation, sometimes, and this is the hard truth, motivation may not come to us on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. We go through ebbs and flows of feeling better or feeling more like ourselves, and those may be the periods where you do find that motivation to find that doctor. But in those periods where you're just not feeling yourself and you're just not motivated, do not be hard on yourself for taking that rest and for taking that time for yourself. It's not selfish, it's not lazy. You are so deserving of rest, and it is so important for a chronic illness journey, not only to find that motivation again, but to give our body that is dealing with chronic pain on a day-to-day basis that time to heal. The next thing that helped me find motivation to find a doctor that believed me was journaling. Now, this might seem weird too, because when you're journaling, you're like, I'm not out there in the real world finding a doctor. So how do I find the motivation through journaling to find a doctor? And I found that I journaled a lot during the most painful moments of my chronic illness journey. I would bike to the local lake that I lived by, and I would just journal for hours about everything that I was feeling. I felt it was a safe place that I could put everything that I was feeling emotionally or physically on paper. It was a place that no one else could see, and I could be so open with the world around my chronic illness journey. And when I journaled and looked back on everything that I had gone through, I was motivated because I was like, man, I was so early in my journey, and I'm so proud of that person that was writing this, because they were so much in pain, and there were so many cracks in their self-worth and their self-identity with a chronic illness at the beginning. But reading back on those pages, I was like, that person found the motivation to keep going. Regardless of it was to keep going to find a doctor, but they kept going in their day-to-day life to get up every morning, shower, brush their teeth, eat a meal. And so journaling, looking back on that old version of myself, I was motivated to keep going for them, to find answers for them, to be like, no, that person that wrote that a couple of months ago or a year ago, deserves answers. And so journaling, if you haven't done it or tried it, it can be a really intriguing experience, especially the first time, because you're like, how do I journal? Do I write to the journal? Do I write to myself? It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do and however you want to approach journaling, I just found it was so motivating to look back on those pieces that I wrote for myself and to myself, and motivating myself to say, I'm going to find answers for that version of myself. And that really helped me find that motivation to find a doctor that believed me. Third thing that motivated me during my chronic illness journey was joining support groups for those living with my chronic illness, which is endometriosis. When I joined those support groups, I was in like a Facebook group, an Instagram group, and I realized that people in my area were finding doctors that were referring them to endometriosis specialists. So I was like, oh, there's doctors in my area, like my vicinity, that believe people that have these presentations of pain and are actually referring them to specialized care. I was so motivated by joining those support groups, and I was so thankful for those people sharing their experiences and their stories with endo and their journey to find answers, because it surely motivated me to find that doctor and to reach out and just say their wait list might be long, but that hope remained that in my area where I lived, a doctor believed that type of pain. And so I highly recommend you joining a support group or network for your chronic illness. There's a lot online and there are a lot in person. I just found that it really motivated me to find those answers and that doctor that believed my pain. Next thing that motivated me in my chronic illness journey was celebrating the small wins. I found that turning my pain into purpose to find that answer and that doctor was somewhat enjoyable, or more enjoyable, when I celebrated the small wins for myself. And I found more motivation to keep going when I celebrated those small wins, because I was like, oh, like, yeah, I got a little bit of boost of energy or a boost of positivity in the journey, because I finally found that little bit of silver lining in the hardest days. I found that I celebrated myself by walking away from that doctor and saying, that person is obviously not meant for me. They don't believe me and they don't validate my pain. So I'm going to celebrate myself today by not seeing that person ever again, and taking care of my own health and my body by saying there is somebody out there that will believe me, and keep reminding myself of that, like that affirmation that there is somebody else meant for me in the medical system that will support me and will guide me through this. And so I'm going to celebrate myself today by walking away. When you look at things, even the hardest days in a chronic illness journey, with a silver lining, it can really help us feel motivated to keep going for answers. Another small win time when finding a doctor that believes you that you can celebrate is, did you email a new clinic or did you call somebody to have a walk-in appointment done? That is something to be extremely celebrated, and sometimes we forget that those little details might be the breaking point to finding that doctor that believes us. And sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit by saying, I'm so proud of myself by getting up, even if I had a huge flare-up the night before or living with chronic fatigue, but I picked up the phone or emailed a new clinic for an appointment. That is something that sometimes we don't celebrate. So if you've done that recently in your chronic illness journey, I am so incredibly proud of you. Know that small wins are out there if we just take the time to really look at them and say, I can turn this into a positive for myself. So those are some of the ways that I felt personally motivated in my chronic illness journey to find a doctor that believed me. Take your time to rest and to really reevaluate what direction you want to go in when finding a doctor that believes you. It's okay to rest. You're not lazy. Again, I just want to remind you of that. There are so many individualized ways to also feel motivated, and I'd love to hear them in the comments. Was there a support group that you joined, or your friends and family? Did they motivate you every day to find that doctor that believed you? Was it a book that you read that you're like, wow, I feel really motivated by this statement or this verse in this book? Was there a certain type of music that motivated you every day to get up and pump you up to find that doctor? The journey to motivation is so unique, and things motivate us in different ways, but I would love to hear what motivated you in the comments down below. If you're still on your journey to finding a doctor that believes your pain, again, there is a doctor out there that believes your pain and believes your story, and I want to reiterate on my end that I believe your pain and I believe your story. There is somebody out there in the world, me, I believe you. I believe you 100%, and the pain that you go through is sometimes unimaginable to those that are outside of the pain, that will never understand it, but at least some clarity that brought me some peace and some motivation was knowing that I wasn't alone in the journey. And so you're not alone. I'm here with you, and I believe you. And I'd love to hear how your journey is going so far, again, in the comments down below. But I hope this video has helped, and I hope that you find the motivation when you're ready and well rested to keep going, to keep advocating for yourself, and to find a doctor that believes you. So with that, I cannot wait to talk to you on the next one.